You are sitting in the dark. No light bulb. No phone screen. No candle. Just your eyes, slowly adjusting to a blackness so complete it feels like it has weight. Somewhere nearby, something is moving. You cannot see it. You cannot warn anyone. All you can do is wait. For most of human history, this was not a scary story. This was every single night. Fire changed that. But here is the strange part. Fire was not invented the way you think. There was no single ancestor who rubbed two sticks together in a flash of genius and lit up the world. That story is a myth. The real story is slower, stranger, and far more fragile than that. And it cost your ancestors more than you would guess. So where did it actually start? Not with invention. With theft. Long before humans could create fire, they had to steal it. Lightning strikes a dry tree. A wildfire sweeps across a grassland. And somewhere in the smoke, a small band of early humans does something almost nobody else on Earth was doing. They walk toward it. Every other animal runs from fire. Your ancestors ran in. The archaeologist Francesco Bernoletti that examined ash and burned bone fragments deep inside Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. The evidence pointed to controlled fire use roughly 1 million years ago. Not campfires built from scratch. Fire that was captured, carried, and kept alive. Kept alive is the key phrase. Because here's what almost nobody tells you. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans could not start fire on demand. They could only preserve it. Once a flame went out, it was gone. If your group lost its fire and could not find another, you were back in the dark. Permanently, until the next lightning strike. Think about what that meant. Someone had to feed it constantly. Someone had to shield it from rain. Someone had to carry a smoldering coal for miles. When your group moved camp, miss one night, one storm, one careless moment, and the thing that separated you from every predator on the savannah was simply gone. Does that sound like a convenience? Or does it sound like a hostage situation? At a site called Jesher Benat Yaakov in Israel, the archaeologist Nama Inbar and her team found something remarkable. Layers of burned wood and flint, clustered together at the same spot again and again, dated to around 790,000 years ago. Not scattered accidental burns. Evidence of a fire that returned to the exact same hearth, over and over, for generations. That is not an accident. That is a responsibility, passed down like an heirloom nobody was allowed to drop. Why does that matter so much? Because it changes the entire question you started with. This was never about a moment of invention. It was about an unbroken chain of maintenance, stretching across thousands of generations, where a single failure could erase everything that came before it. There is a reason fire shows up in myth after myth as something stolen, guarded, or forbidden. Prometheus steals it from the gods and is punished forever. Countless origin stories across unrelated cultures treat fire not as a tool that was built, but as a gift that was taken, kept, and protected against the constant threat of loss. Myths tend to exaggerate the facts. This time, the facts were already extreme enough to explain the myth. So let's reconstruct what that actually looked like. Picture a small group, maybe 15 or 20 individuals, moving across an open landscape. As the sun drops, the temperature is already falling. Someone breaks off from the group and crouches over a bundle of smoking bark, cupping it with both hands, blowing gently, guarding it like it is the only thing keeping the entire band alive. Because it is. Around the fire, others sit closer than you would ever sit with strangers. Not for warmth alone. For light. For the simple, desperate comfort of seeing each other's faces in the dark. Notice who is not in that picture. No one is sleeping at the outer edge of the group, far from the light, the way a solitary predator might rest. Fire pulled bodies inward. It compressed the group into a tight circle, night after night, for the entire span of human prehistory. Some anthropologists believe this nightly gathering is where storytelling itself was born, simply because there was finally enough calm, lit time to talk without needing to watch the tree line every second. This is where the primatologist Richard Wrangham's research becomes essential. Wrangham argued that fire did not just protect early humans. It rebuilt them, biologically, from the inside out. Cooking softens food and pre-breaks it down, meaning your body spends far less energy digesting it. Wrangham's cooking hypothesis suggests that once cooked food became reliable, human guts shrank over generations, while the energy that used to go toward digestion was redirected somewhere else, toward the brain. Here is the twist almost nobody expects. Fire did not just make life easier. It made humans dependent, in a way no earlier ancestor had ever been. Your gut got smaller. Your teeth got smaller. Your jaw got weaker. Somewhere along that path, humans quietly lost the ability to survive well on raw food alone, the way a chimpanzee still can today. You gained a bigger brain. You gained cooked meat, softer plants, more usable calories. But you also gave something up completely. Fire stopped being a tool. It became a biological requirement. That is the cost almost nobody talks about. Invention sounds like power. This was closer to a trade. Your ancestors did not just gain fire. They became a species that could no longer live without it. And it did not stop at digestion. Once fire existed at the center of camp, everything reorganized around it. Groups that could keep a flame alive could also stay up later, which meant more time to talk, to teach, to gossip, to plan. Some researchers argue that firelight itself may have extended the social day, giving early humans hours of face-to-face time that daylight-only species never had. The fire was not just cooking dinner. It was quietly building culture. It changed sleep, too. Once fire pushed back the darkness, humans no longer had to bed down the instant the sun disappeared. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups, including work associated with the anthropologist Polly Wiesner, have observed that firelit evening conversation looks strikingly different from daytime talk. Daytime conversation tends to focus on practical matters, complaints, logistics. Firelit conversation shifts toward stories, songs, and shared history. Wiesner's comparisons of day and night talk among the Jews/Honsi of the Kalahari suggest that the campfire may have been one of the first stages ever built for human culture. Not a stage for survival, a stage for meaning. But fire cut both ways. A flame that could keep predators at bay could also destroy an entire camp in minutes. A single gust of wind, one dry season, one moment of carelessness, and the same fire that kept a band of humans alive for a decade could kill every one of them in an hour. Fire never stopped being dangerous. Your ancestors did not tame it. They negotiated with it, permanently, one careful watch shift at a time. Now think about your own life for a second. You still cannot survive comfortably without your version of fire. Yours is called electricity. Lose it for one night, and you feel a version of that same old panic. No lights, no charged phone, no heat pumping through the walls. You reach instinctively for a switch that will not respond, the same way an ancestor might have reached for a coal that had already gone cold. We call it a power outage now. They would have called it the dark coming back. Even the way you sleep tonight still carries fire's fingerprints. Before artificial light, humans mostly slept in two segments, waking for a quiet stretch in the middle of the night before drifting off again. Once firelight, and later electric light, pushed bedtime later and later, that second sleep quietly disappeared from most of the modern world. You did not choose that change. It was inherited, the same way your smaller gut and softer jaw were inherited, one silent generation at a time. Every generation, since that first stolen flame, has built its own version of the same hearth. Cities are lit like a campfire that never goes out. Screens glow in dark rooms the way that fire once did, pulling faces close together long after the sun goes down. You are not so different from the person crouched over that smoking bark, feeding it, protecting it, terrified of what happens if it dies. So no, there was no single genius who invented fire in one bright moment. There were thousands of quiet, careful people, over hundreds of thousands of years, who simply refused to let the flame go out. And in exchange for that flame, your ancestors rewired their bodies, reorganized their nights, and built the earliest version of everything you now call civilization. You are sitting in the light right now, reading this. No lightning strike, no wildfire to chase down, just a switch, a screen, a current running quietly behind the wall. It feels permanent. It feels like it will always be there. It never has been. It was never free. And somewhere, underneath all of it, a part of you is still that same person in the dark, quietly grateful the fire has not gone out yet.